Welcome back, fellow lords of gaming. Let's jump into something new. That's going to be the Matrix Resurrections review. It's going to be a spoiler review. So before we get into it, hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notifications if you are enjoying the content that I'm bringing, and let's jump right in. So it's going to be a spoiler review. So I'm giving you 5 seconds to jump out of the channel if you're not interested about the spoiler. 5, 4, 3, and then we're gonna jump right in. You had enough time to click off. So let's jump into this. Basically, we've got the Matrix Resurrections. Are you a fan of the Matrix? If you answer yes to that question, then you will probably more than likely enjoy this movie. If you are not, then you are probably going to find some really weird things about the movie and maybe not be able to follow along with the story. That's the truth of it. Are you jumping into this for the first time and you haven't seen Matrix 1, 2, or 3? There's going to be a lot of questions that the story just does not answer for you. Basically, what we have here is a 3-part story. And it's the continuation of the Matrix, so it's not a reboot, it's not a remake, it's a continuation of the story. What we have essentially being told is a very different allegory than what was put inside the original Matrix movies. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know. I'm not going to specifically dive into it because of the YouTube algorithm. So if you know, then you know. Now, if we have another bit of story where we're literally telling and giving agency to characters that didn't have agency before in them, namely the female characters, specifically Trinity's character and how it's being told. I will give you a point to show you how this allegory that we were talking about, that I'm not talking about, is inside the story. Yahya Abdul-Mateen's character comes back as a sentience that is Morpheus. But the truth of the matter is as you watch the movie, Jessica Henwick's Bug's character is truly the Morpheus character. Now, it's weird how it's done because it's an embodiment of the same character through the lens of 2 individuals. Basically, Yahya Mateen's Morpheus is Morpheus in all but his presentation, whereas Jessica Henwick's character is Morpheus in all her actions and everything there. She's the one that believes in finding for Neo. She's the one that basically instigates the whole motions in the story. She's the one that believes in Neo. She's the one that is willing to extract him. She's the one that's willing to disregard, you know, the general's orders and stuff like that to basically facilitate anything that Neo needs in order to see his power and his prophecy fulfilled. That's essentially it. So, but you see in this point where you have 2 characters surmising one and a duality of characters basically there. I'm probably digging a little deeper on that than what some of you probably care to, but if you watch the movie, you'll clearly see what the hell I'm talking about, and you'll see it play out in another pair of characters, specifically Neo and Trinity. Whereas in the first 3 movies, you basically had a story being told of Neo realizing his prophecy and coming to potential with his destiny and him being the one. In this new Resurrections trailer, you get a different outlook on that. And what I mean by that is, if you were a fan of the original Matrix series, you basically understood that there was no Neo without Trinity. There was no Trinity without Neo. It was a exclusive pairing that had to exist for this movie to be successful. Carrie-Anne Moss and Keanu Reeves together were just popping, right? That was the movie. Like, I mean, we all loved Carrie-Anne Moss's Trinity and Neo. Those were essential characters to the story being told. Well, inside here, we are delivered agency to the character Trinity more than anything. So in the reverse effect of where she was the support to Neo, Neo now becomes the support to Trinity. And what I mean by that is Neo is freed from the story is told through the eyes of Neo still, but it's literally Neo helping Carrie-Anne Moss's Trinity to realize her agency. And it's funny because at one point Jessica Henwick's Bugs goes back to the new Zion, which is called Io now, and she meets with Niobe, who is basically Jada Pinkett Smith's character from the first movies. And she meets with her, and at one point Neo is standing in front of her, and he says, he tries to take responsibility for the actions of Jessica Henwicks's bugs, and Niobe is quick to correct him and say, no, stop, don't do that, you don't take agency from my captain. And in that same regard, we kind of get this telling of, you know, Trinity's character inside the series. Neo is supporting her so that way she can make her way out of the Matrix, and he is, you know, Lana Wachowski is giving agency to that character, because it's not Neo who in the end saves the day. It's actually Trinity awakening and beginning to see her power and realize the potential that she has, and being able to see the Matrix the same way that Neo sees the Matrix. So it's weird, because these are the layers of the storytelling. Now, will I say this? I'm not a very woke PC kind of person. That's just not me. But I will say this, it is done very well. It is not forced down your throat, and because we know the power of the character already in Trinity, it's not a hard leap to make to understand that, you know what, maybe this would have been good. So in that regard, we get the one, but Neo mentions repeatedly throughout the movie, I never believed I was the one, but she did. And in that regard, we get to see how he actually doesn't believe that he is the one, and he understands that his role in this relationship is what creates the one. The one is the two of them being paired up and being able to overcome all the odds that they want to. At the end of the movie, Trinity awakens that power. She's able to fly. Neo is able to do that by the end of the movie as well, but he's limited. He has a limiter in him because he does not have Trinity by his side. And with her by his side, he can do all things, but she is able to do all things with him as well, because he is there and he helps her awaken. So it's a reverse order of basically what happened in the Matrix movies. Is it done well is the question. I believe it is. Now, the parts where the film falters, in my opinion, is that it doesn't really it doesn't do a good job of exposing a lot of the meat to what happened in between the time. So meaning like Zion's fall and Io's rising, the machine war that they briefly give you a synopsis of, the inclusion of, you know, machine sentience inside of the Io world, and the you know, the idea that a lot of the machines have basically found a way to make themselves available outside of the Matrix through either sentience or you know, these 3D 4D models or whatever the hell they call them. There's like a lot of weird techno babble inside this movie, and that's where I'm thinking a lot of people are going to end up lost, because there is a crap ton of techno babble, like it is. But overall, then we get down to basic. So there's like a lot of exposition, basically, is what I'm trying to say, is missing from the story. But at the, you know, base layers of it, it's still a good story. It's just that you find yourself wanting more of these explanations to understand things like, why is Morpheus now supposed to be a sentience AI programming? It doesn't make sense, because he was human, especially when you look at Neo is still human and he's coming out of the Matrix, you know. It's weird things like that, but they kind of try their best to explain them. Now, if you go into this movie because Keanu basically likes, he basically like, I cannot see him at this point in my life as anything other than John Wick. But if you go into the movie kind of expecting John Wick action, you're not going to get it. In fact, the truth of the matter is that Keanu Reeves's character, basically, he does have some fight scenes inside here. They're pretty well done, the fight scenes, especially the ones done between him and Agent Smith. They're really good. The other ones kind of, they don't read well with the camera angles, in my opinion. Like, you know, not enough for you to feel the depth of them like you did inside the original trilogy. But they're serviceable, they're good. But the ones between Keanu and between Neo and Agent Smith, the new Agent Smith, they do feel really good. Especially, there's one fight scene in here that feels amazing. Now, the fight scenes overall, they are part and parcel to the story, but the story is more the feature here. It's not the action. In fact, they go to great lengths to make fun of the bullet time effect and, you know, the old things that they did in the previous trilogy, and you can see the ways that they tried to update the movie and update those ideas for a new generation. Is this going to be another trilogy series? I don't know, to be perfectly honest. I have no clue whether or not this is going to be a trilogy series. could it be a trilogy series? Yes, it could. The way the movie leaves off seems to imply that it could be a trilogy. I'd be perfectly happy with a into the series right here, but I'd be just as happy and equally pleased if maybe they continued it on with another series. The truth of the matter is that this is a like, to me, the movie felt like fan service, but it was really well done fan service. I didn't find very much, I was entertained throughout watching the movie. I was a little lost in some of the exposition, mostly because it was just thrown at you. You know, I'd probably have to watch the movie 1, 2, 3 times the way we watched the Matrix movie to see all the things that we possibly missed in the movie. You know what I mean? But the movie overall felt good. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I got a little bit tired of seeing Neo use, you know, the Force basically to do a lot of his powers instead of the fighting that he did in the original trilogy. I was happy not to see any of the CGI fights that we basically got. Like, if you remember part 2 when Neo was flying and stuff like that, and he was doing some of his fights and it was all CG. Thank God they didn't have that. Oh my God. Now, as accompaniment to the movie on the PlayStation 5 and other consoles, I believe there's the Unreal Matrix experience basically that you can play inside there. I highly suggest you go take a look at that because I have actually played and it's pretty damn good. But yeah, so overall, like I said, I would give the movie an 8 out of 10. Are you a fan of the Matrix series? If yes, go watch this. You're probably going to rate it way higher than I did. If you're not a fan, is this something that you need to jump in to see? I'd say it's entertaining, you know, good popcorn flick. It's not worse than anything else out in theaters right now, and it's not better than anything else out in theaters right now, in my opinion. But it's a solid movie. I would say it's a solid. I will understand that, you know, there's going to be a lot of critics, you know, highbrow critics who are going to lambast the movie and pieces of it because they're gonna be like, nah, this was trash and unneeded or whatever. Guys, it was a good movie and was done really well. I enjoyed the new architect, aka the analyst, Neil Patrick Harris's character. I enjoyed the new Agent Smith. He was really well done. I enjoyed the updates to the series, and I feel like this was a great way to bring this story to a new generation and a new audience. And that's essentially what you want to do with a lot of these stories. The movie actually even makes fun of itself in that it understands it's a sequel and that it's, you know, a cash grab in that regard. And part of the movie, they literally have a marketing meeting where they make fun of that. But it's good, guys. I don't mind it. So I really hope that, you know, previous Matrix fans get the same nostalgia feeling that I had, and new fans of the Matrix will want to go back and pick up, you know, and watch parts 1, 2, and 3, because I feel like the movie was really well done overall. And I absolutely love the story, the love story of Neo and Trinity that is told here, that kind of helps you feel more for this love story that was previously done. So, all right, guys, with that, I'm going to sign off. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I've got my Spider-Man review as well, so I plan on bringing you guys a lot more reviews for series and shows and things like that I watch, and I hope you enjoy the content. Until next time, peace.